Helga has, oh, and we're recording. We all good? All right. Helga has been helping people buy and sell homes and condominiums for 25 years. She doesn't specialize in a specific neighborhood, but instead focuses on learning what her clients need and finding the right solutions for their next move. So I invite you to relax, enjoy your coffee, and listen and watch Helga present real estate and chocolate. Learn how a sweet treat turned into a real estate journey.
All right. Hello. I want to be a real estate agent when I grow up, said no child ever. But I was too fat for chocolate, and that's what led me to a career in real estate. So let me explain. I'm standing on stage. I am the Wicked Witch in the school play of Hansel and Gretel. I'm 10 years old and I love being the center of attention. I cackle, I sing, and I get my picture in the local newspaper. And it was at that moment that I realized I was going to be a famous actress when I grow up. So, as a teenager, I joined a talent agency. My first role was a Coca-Cola commercial, and the next one was a chocolate bar commercial. I was 16 now, and I'm in the makeup trailer ready to film the commercial when one of the producers comes in and he says, we had a hard time convincing the ad company that you were right for this part. The camera will add 10 pounds to you, and they don't want somebody fat promoting chocolate. Well, I was never one of the skinny girls. I'm 5'4" and well, back then I weighed 125 pounds. But apparently the effects of the wide angle lens would make me look at least 135 pounds. And in the 70s, I guess I was too fat for chocolate. The makeup lady, of course, she was disgusted. And she said, just ignore him. Well, at 16, when an adult tells you that you're too fat, it's kind of hard to ignore them. So we filmed the commercial. And when I left, I thought, you know what? I could spend my life worrying about my weight, or maybe a life of scrutiny under a magnifying glass just wasn't for me. So I turned my attention to business and the stock market. Now I'm 18 years old and I'm standing on the trading floor of the Toronto Stock Exchange with a piece of chalk in my hand. This was pre-computer times. And I had to chalk the boards with the bid and the ask of the brokers that were yelling and screaming at me all day. It was fast paced, it was challenging, it was incredibly stressful. But you know what? I loved every minute of it. So at 21, I became one of the very first and very small number of female traders on the floor of the Toronto Stock Exchange. And the traders, they like to play tricks on one another. And at the time, there was a movie called Helga, the Leather Mistress. So every day they would take turns cutting out the ad and secretly attaching it to my jacket on the back so that all day I would walk around advertising the porno movie. Well, now I'm 22 years old. It's my birthday, and all the traders gather around in a circle to let me know that they have a birthday present for me. I open it up. It's a black see-through negligee. All the dirty old men are all laughing and giggling, and I can imagine they're just envisioning what I might look like in that negligee. I wasn't too fat for the stock market. But you know what? Eventually, I left the stock market to become an entrepreneur, and that eventually led to becoming a realtor. So, that 21-year-old self on the trading floor learned a lot of skills that have helped me. I've learned how to negotiate under stressful conditions. I've learned how to assess market value. One time I presented an offer $150,000 below list price because that's what the market indicated. My clients bought the house and they saved a lot of money. And you know what? I also learned how to navigate tricky situations because the seller, they were not happy. There's this misconception, and when people ask me, what area do you specialize in? And I say, you know what? I don't specialize in a neighborhood. I specialize in people. I try to figure out what is their situation, and then I help them buy or sell, serving their needs, not based on a geographic area in the city. When they hire me, it's for the skills I bring to every unique situation to help guide them through what can be very stressful, sometimes exciting, and a real estate adventure. So let me tell you about some of the people that I have had the privilege to serve. You know, Linda called me one day and she was recently divorced. She had just fired her real estate lawyer and she needed a home for herself and her two kids. She had never bought a home on her own and she wasn't sure what she wanted or what she needed. She was scared. Well, I held her hand, sometimes literally, as we went through the process. I found her a beautiful home, and actually, it had 2 units, one for her and her children, and one that would generate income. So, problem was, it was the perfect house for 6 other people. Now she's in a bidding war, which was even scarier. But I fought for her, and she won. And then there was the time when Carrie and her husband bought their first home. And when I delivered the news that their offer had been accepted, Carrie burst into tears. I was like, oh no, what have I done? They were happy tears, she told me. She had spent her whole life living in a rental apartment, and she never imagined that one day she would own her own home. It was a magical moment. I've also worked with older adults who seemingly stuck in a home they know, but they're lonely and they're isolated. So I've had the privilege of helping them through the transition, whether it was downsizing to a condo or a retirement home. It can be sad emptying a home, a large home that's full of memories, and they leave with just a few boxes and maybe a bit of furniture. But later when I visit them, I often find them thriving. They're engaged in activities with a new group of friends, and they're no longer isolated and alone. And, once I visited a woman at a retirement home and she showed me around and we were in the dining room and I asked her, well, do you sit at a particular table every night? And she pointed at a table and she said, no, I don't sit at that table. That's where the mean girls sit. So ladies, there are still mean girls, even in your 80s. Buying or selling a home, it can be overwhelming, an emotional roller coaster. Navigating the process, essentially holding people's hands, is the greatest impact I can make. I don't have to be a size 6, and no one has ever asked me how much I weigh. But you know what they wonder is, can I take care of them? And yes, I can. I can take care of them. So that 10-year-old self who was going to become a famous actress, I should have told her, you know what? You're not a triple threat. You can't act, sing, or dance. But instead of spending a life under scrutiny, worrying about how much I weigh and what I look like, I've instead had the opportunity of spending my life making an impact on so many people's lives. And when it comes to real estate, you know what? I am a triple threat. I know how to negotiate, I know how to assess market value, and I know how to take care of people. Being too fat for chocolate? Well, you know what? It led me to a life full of meaning and joy. Thank you for watching.
Amazing. Thank you, Helga. I just want to say, like, the power of storytelling, and you see it just in your presentation. That was just so engaging and just so lovely, and a nice little background on Helga that I didn't know about. So thank you so much for sharing. So if anybody wants to connect with Helga,